On the special series for the AIA Austin Homes Tour, which is this October, I have Carina Coel from Restructure Studio joining us to talk about the Hartford Residence. This is a really beautiful period style home that has been restructured. Carina, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Adrian. I'm so excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so excited to have you here. And I love this style of home. I did kick off and just ask you, why Restructure Studio? Why did you name it Restructure Studio?
Oh, that's such a good question. I named it Restructure Studio because when I first started the firm, I really wanted to focus on sustainability and green building. And I had all these terms that have been floating around forever: reuse, recycle. And so I was thinking about that, but also I just really like to think about approaching design work and my projects from looking at it from different perspectives. And so it was really just bringing all of those thoughts together as restructuring the way that we look at architecture or that we look at design. And yeah, it felt right.
I think it's great. And I love the explanation. I think understanding that like it's always a fresh perspective, whichever way it is, and that we're always in growth of finding those fresh perspectives and how we bring those to the industry or to yourselves or to your clients or whichever. I like it. I like it a lot. And also you're an all-woman firm and you're a big advocate for women in architecture. Tell me a little bit about that as well, just being a strong, powerful woman.
Yeah, I have to say I really enjoy it. I started the firm right after my daughter was born, about 14 years ago. And I found that as I was growing the firm, I wasn't quite ready to bring someone on full time. And I was trying to figure out, how do I make this work? And it just worked out beautifully that I had met a couple other women who also had children who wanted to work and stay involved in the workforce, but weren't ready to commit to full-time jobs just because they had other priorities in their life. And it was beautiful setup for me because I had flexibility to, as projects came in and work got busier or got slower, I could had this great flexible relationship with my employees. And we've slowly grown. We're now a team of 6, which is very exciting. I do have a full-time employee, an operations manager. We have an interior designer on staff. But 3 of my employees remain flexible, and I think it's worked out really well for them as far as I know, and it's worked out wonderfully for me as well. And as I was growing the firm and realizing that I think more women specifically needed that kind of flexible setup for certain phases of their careers and parts of their lives, I really started to become an advocate for women in the profession and trying to see how we could close that gap of architecture schools graduate approximately 50-50 men and women right now. But when you look at the licensure rates, it's 25% women, 75% men. And so how do we bridge that gap for these women who are interested? They go to school to become architects, but maybe they don't get to the licensure phase of their career. And so, yeah, I've just finished being the chair for the Women in Architecture Committee at AIA Austin. That was a 2-year commitment. And it's such an amazing committee. I think it's my favorite committee at AIA Austin. And just really looking and working with the community on how we can promote women and keep them in their profession.
Do you think that the difference between, say, women and male architects, that there is a different approach or a different outcome that comes from A, working with women, or B, working with men? Do you get something majorly different from that? It's very hard to, it's a hard question because you're a woman.
Yeah.
And it's like, but I get it. It's like, I'm keen to know. Do you see it? Do you see something that trends or that happens?
I think that's a great question. There are so many amazing men in the Austin community and in the architecture profession, obviously. And I have so much respect for them, but I do feel like first of all, our firm is sought out sometimes because we are all women or women led. People are looking for that. We do custom residential design, and they want that perspective. The other thing that I've noticed, and again, this isn't my judgment on other men in the profession, it's just what I've heard from clients that have come to us, is we're told that we're very good listeners, and that they feel like they've been heard when they come and meet with us. And again, I think there's some excellent men and women teams that also are great at that. But I do think that is something that we've heard that is an important piece to the puzzle, that our clients really feel like
that we're
heard. Incorporating, that they've been heard. Yeah. So.
Do you know, I don't know whether you ever watched the last Oprah show, and this stuck out of the last Oprah show for me so hugely. She said, from presidents to terrible people to good people to whatever it is, of all the people that she interviewed over all her years as Oprah, there was one factor that overruled absolutely everything else. They all needed to feel they'd been heard. And her genius was to make them feel be heard.
Oprah's the queen, so she knows.
Isn't that interesting though? Like it
that
is
interesting. Yeah. No, and we work on, when people are building their dream homes or customizing their home, it is usually by far the biggest expense that they have. There's a lot of compromise involved. There's especially if it's a family or a couple that we're working with. And so I think it is a key thing that we want to make sure that their priorities and their dreams are coming to life, and that we're not of course we want it to be beautiful and functional and wonderful design.
That's why they employ you.
That's right. But we do want it to feel imbued with their priorities and their dreams. So we really work hard to make that come together. So
I love that. We will come back and talk about that on another podcast together. It's
I'd love to.
It's a subject very close to my heart. Now we're going to talk about the Hartford Residence. And first of all, I'd love you to, before we show any pictures and share any pictures, describe the house, because it's not going to look particularly different when you arrive than it did when you arrived. So describe the house and tell me the client brief, what the client was asking you for in this place, and how you heard them might be really nice.
Yes. So you're absolutely right. The house was originally built in 1932, and it already had this gorgeous brick exterior, street-facing facade that everyone loved. It was part of the reason my clients had purchased the house in the first place. And when you walk up to the house on the tour, it's not going to look extremely different from when the homeowners first purchased it. Which was all part of our plan. It was also in a historic district within Austin. It's on the National Historic Register. We had to work with the Historic Commission in Austin to get the plans approved. And from the beginning, it was a priority to maintain that.
So if you were an old neighbor in that neighborhood and you walked past this house since 1932, which should put you in your late 80s or maybe late 80s. That would be that the look of it, had it been like altered since then, the physical facade of the front?
As far as we know, the physical facade had not changed much since it was originally built. We don't have the original drawings or any original photos of it, but when things had happened, like they had added air conditioning and stuff like that, but that was more impacted on, and it was really the interior of the home that needed a lot of help. And we'll get into that. But it's been
a pretty consistent neighborhood feature.
It has. Yes, exactly. It would look pretty similar to what it looked like when it was originally built. And so, the clients came to me. It's a young couple. They had been recently married, and they bought this home, and they had a very tight budget. And so that was something that they said from the beginning. But essentially, the house was almost 1,500 square feet, about 1,475 when they purchased it. It had one bathroom and two bedrooms. And they knew that they wanted to expand the house. And they really didn't need a whole lot more space. They just really wanted to grow it to have two bathrooms and 3 bedrooms. And so the priority was to
ease it. Yeah.
That's right. Just bring it up so they could stay there for a long time and
Yeah.
have a family. And that's what the whole thing. We only added on about 480 square feet to the house. And when we were first looking at it, we were trying to decide, it's a small lot. Austin has a lot of restrictions about impervious cover, setbacks where you can add on. So in many ways, it would have made sense to go up to add this extra bedroom and bathroom on the second floor, but we knew that was not going to fit with the historic nature of the house or the neighborhood. There are 2-story homes in the neighborhood now, but the priority was really to keep it that classic feel that they fell in
That
love
low
with.
set classic feel that just the neighborhood has, and what they loved right from the start.
Yeah, I think adding a second story to this house really would have taken away a lot of that charm that they fell in love with. And so we decided to add on to the back of the house. We basically added a new primary suite for them with a new bedroom and bathroom. The front bedrooms pretty much stayed the same. And we did it in a way where there's a tiny sliver of the addition that that you can see from the street. It's set back. It's not near the front. It's set back. But we went to the point where the whole exterior of the house was done in brick. When we expanded to the back, we meticulously removed the brick from the back facade and saved it so that now when you look at the house from the street, you can see this other addition, but you wouldn't know that it was new. It literally has the same brick that was put on the house originally. So
I love that. I love that. And that comes back to that Restructure studio part of thinking as well. It comes back to your name, which I think is beautiful. So they asked for some room and you did that on the lot as opposed to in the air, which probably actually gives more flow and the organization of the home and engages the landscape.
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up because that was really what was lacking on the inside. Once you walked into the house, the front rooms were nice, but the kitchen was a mess. It had a huge amount of wasted space. There was no view to the backyard. You basically had a door to an uncovered deck and you couldn't really see out there. The windows were looking at this very narrow side yard. And so we really, and it's the simple stuff, right? Like we relocated some of the doorways as you walk through from the living room to the dining room to the kitchen, just reorganizing the path and the flow in those spaces, keeping the original archway shapes. We salvaged some of the original trim so that it could be reused when we moved. And it just made the inside so much nicer. You could now put furniture in the living room, whereas before the flow meant there's no place to put your sofa and you could get to the bedrooms easier. You could see all the way through from the front door to the dining room. And so it's still a very traditional home in that it does have a
separated rooms. Yeah.
But they're much more connected now in a way and how you use them. And you can be in one room and still have a conversation with someone in the other, even though it is its own special space. And then the kitchen did get a big overhaul. That I know that whatever was there when my clients bought it, I doubt was original to the house, but it was.
Well, you'd have known if it was. It would have been a pot and a cooker.
That's right.
There wouldn't have been any benches. You know, back in those days, remember back, like when you look at really old houses like that, the benches were like a foot wide. And they only ever got to being a standardized size as appliances became a standardized size.
Yes, that's so true. Yeah,
it's amazing, eh?
It is amazing how everything's just developed to keep up with.
I don't know how people cooked in the kitchen back in the day. They had literally a dining table in there, and maybe they sat at it more to prep and stuff because they would have killed their backs. Maybe they were all a bit shorter as well. But even bench heights have changed. They're standardized now to certain things. But I look at it and I go, they had, basically a cooker. And then if they were lucky, they had some bench or they had a table and another piece of table. And you go, how did this all work? Like in 38, maybe not quite that bad, but in 38, I think I'm a Kiwi, so I grew up in New Zealand. 1930s and stuff, pre-war, there were no garages on houses often. So you didn't have places to park cars. And then those rooms inside were very separated, very possibly for heating more than anything, but it was also just the English way of building. And then the kitchen was always, it was like the bathroom, it was always almost an addition to the
Yes.
house.
It
It
felt
wasn't
like an
like the heart
afterthought.
of the home. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, the front of this home was beautiful already. I just needed a little bit of help. And then the back of the house was a mess. And yeah, really did feel like the kitchen and the way that you got into the backyard just was an afterthought. And so that was what was really fun for us, was to help them
Yeah.
reorient their focus and give them and make it so that the kitchen still felt, I feel like the way that we designed it with our interior designer, it still feels like it's very much of within that historic charm
Genre. Yeah.
genre. Yeah. But obviously with all the modern amenities and appliances and everything.
I
So
love it. I love it. Yeah, you're gonna share a photo of that in a minute.
okay.
I want
Yeah.
you to take me from a walk from the street.
Okay.
I'm there. I was trying to still do that math in my
Mhm.
head. I might be 91 if I was
Uh-huh.
born in that street. So let's just pretend I've been walking past it
Okay.
for many years.
Okay.
Um,
Yes.
and I'm familiar with it. So we pull up in the car. This is
Mhm.
what we're going to
Yes.
do for the home tour.
Yes.
Somewhere they're
Yes.
going to tell us there's going to be some signs, there's going to be a
Yes.
desk or something, and we're going to be
Yes.
greeted.
Yes.
Take me right from that sort of, you've parked in the street. What's the street and the
Yes.
neighborhood feel like? Tell me a bit about that, and then take me
Yeah.
in and tell me where to pause and stop. Tell me
Okay.
where the magic is hidden in this home and where the old parts had absolute magic that you loved as well.
Of course, I'd love to. So yes, so this is one of the older neighborhoods in Austin. So it's got these nice wide streets. A lot of the homes are still in this historic character because there's a lot of work in Austin to preserve them. However, it's not a requirement in that neighborhood. So it's an
It's a
interesting mix of these
choice.
older homes. Yeah, this was a choice to keep this house the way it is. And there's some more modern homes as well in that same area, but it's very walkable. It's very easy to get around. Yeah, so you would park. You're going to come up to the front door, which was restored. I do believe the door is original to the house. It certainly is very old. Like I said, we don't have the original drawings or photos of the house, but you'll take off your shoes. You'll come in the front door, and there's a small living room with the original fireplace. And basically, you'll see a series of arches that will lead you through the home. And this is again where we made that focus to go through the central arch to get into the dining room. And there used to be another doorway to the left of that would lead off to the bedrooms. But again, it meant that there was no place to put your furniture in that room because you had the fireplace on one wall, the front door, other doors. And so we fixed that.
Isn't it amazing? And again, when you're in the home, imagine
Yes.
if there was a door behind you, where would the sofa go?
Where
would we actually sit? Maybe it was yeah, maybe there was just one chair by the fire or two chairs.
Exactly.
Who knows? Yeah.
Oh, and then while you're in that room, and as you walk up to the front door, you'll see this too. We replaced all of the windows in the home because those were original. Like when we took them out, they had the pulleys in the wall to lift them up and down. And the front window in the living room has the original leaded diamond shape.
The glass feet. Yeah.
Yes. And that was meticulously because that window was literally the glass was broken. There was a hole in it when they purchased the house. Like there was air coming in and out, bugs, all of it. So we knew we had to fix that. And when we ordered the new windows for the house, we had it specially measured so that they could remove the leaded design and insert it into the new energy efficient window so that they could still have that look, but no air passing
did
through.
You do that like double glazed? Is it double glazed? So it's got like a
It
set
is.
piece of,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And
it's
then
really just
thermally, like the frames are like up to code and all those things that have shifted.
Yes.
It's quite a job that's lovely to do that piece, but it's quite a job to take a home of this age and replace all the windows in it, because to bring the new fitting of the windows up to code is
correct.
It's work. It takes good work. Yeah.
It is, but it's such a better insulated home now. It functions so much. And that was one of the things that it really did need, that tender, loving care to really make it a home that they could enjoy and be comfortable in, that still had that look. So we have that feature window in the front that was meticulously crafted
restored, basically.
Restored. Yeah. Thank you.
Restored and restructured. I want to use your business name again.
That's right.
Because you brought it all the way into this time now, from 1938. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, so then you'll walk from there into the dining room, which again is a smaller room. And this is where we took the original door from the living room that was preventing
Uh-huh.
us from placing furniture, and we moved it into the dining room. So now the dining room, it's large enough that you can really see through, but it's the access. It's like the central heart of the home where you can get to different points
It's your circulation
easily.
space.
It's
Yeah. It's
it
that one
is.
that everything's configured off or reorganized from.
That's right. That's right. Because before you could only go straight through to the kitchen. And now you can go to the kitchen, you can go off to the side to get to the
Nice.
bedrooms. So yeah, so that was, and that room again, just moving the openings and replacing the window was really all that we did in there. And then you walk into the kitchen, which has now been really just really rethought. It before, if you could picture it, it was just an L-shaped counter with a door to the backyard and a small window to the side, and just all the space that we're like, what? I guess they maybe put a breakfast table in there at some point, but it
Imagine.
was right next to
Yeah.
the dining room and didn't
Well,
really
they
make sense. So
probably
yeah,
didn't let you sit in the dining room one except for Sundays after church or something.
you're
You know,
probably right.
there was
Yes.
probably rules around how the house was used, I imagine.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. No, I think you're
It's,
absolutely right. Yeah, it
we
was
live
from a
very
different time.
casually. Yeah, we live very casually now compared to the formalities that there used to be.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. And so and of course now, and with the older homes, the closets are small, so storage is a
Oh,
priority.
yeah.
And so we're really able to take advantage of this rather large space in the house and really give it all the functionality that they needed. We put a large island in with some seating. We put a built-in pantry. They have a little bar off to one side. And it really now functions much better. And
Like a modern kitchen does in a home where people
yeah,
entertain from a large
exactly.
part of, and its community, its family community, its friend community as well. Pull up the picture of that. So for anybody who wants to see this picture, go onto YouTube. You'll find this podcast on YouTube, and you'll be able to see the pictures as well as we go. Otherwise, just you're going to have to see it when you come onto it.
That's right. Okay, this is the picture of the kitchen now.
Yeah, fabulous.
So yes, yes. And so you can see this is where this wall back here is where the back wall of the kitchen
Yeah.
Is where the house ended at that point. And so
Right. Everything beyond there's the addition.
Everything beyond the kitchen is the addition. So as you walk through the house and you can see.
It's a beautiful looking kitchen and still in the period of the house. Ah, there's your long view. Gotcha.
Yes. And there was an original, when you come visit the house, there's a brick, you'll see there's a brick column right in the middle of it that was original to the house that we believe may have been part of a fireplace or some way of heating and cooling the house when it was first built before modern air conditioning.
Long before you guys. Yeah.
And we really liked that piece. And so we decided to keep that and work around it. So
it adds so much
that
texture, doesn't it?
It does. It really does, especially with the other modern appliances and everything that we put in. So
yeah, well, they wouldn't want you to replace them with the old ones. So
no,
it's got to be. It's a beautiful looking new kitchen that you've put in there, and you've made it transparent to the room behind as well.
Yes. So when
Tell
you
me
walk
about
into the
that.
kitchen, we've now put in a huge window that looks out to the backyard. That was another priority for the clients. They really wanted to have a better connection to the backyard. It's a small lot, but they have a really great yard.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't have any covered space or anything. To look out into the backyard is facing west though. And as you probably know,
So you've got
Austin
heat.
gets
Yeah.
very hot. Yes. So we ended up putting this small screened porch right beyond
Nice.
the kitchen. And so you can look out, you can still see the yard, but it's covered. It really helps with that heat gain that's coming in through the house. But it also provides this really nice, another resting spot, another gathering space that connects the kitchen to the yard and beyond. And so that was, and again, that reclaimed brick that we saved from the rear of the house, we use that to clad the chimney,
wow.
for the fireplace in the back.
I can imagine, like looking at I had a look at the floor plan. I was lucky. I had a look at the floor plan, and I can imagine that extra room, the screen porch, really shifts the ease of living space, especially when you have kids and stuff like that, and it's a family home. it will give
Absolutely.
that point of separation, but also having that big window out of the kitchen into there. And if kids are say in there or whatever, you've got your eye on them. They're part of the community still. They're not, young kids always want to be around you. It's not until they're about 11 or 12 that they want to be separated from you.
Right.
And so they can be around you, but just at a distance that you can continue. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, it's a very small porch, but it's one of our favorite parts of the project. We just think it came out beautifully and provides this nice little respite if you wanted to sit outside and sip on some iced tea, or either watch the kids or the dog, or hang out with friends. But yeah, so you basically now, one of the other things that we did with the house is we added on, they really wanted, when they first bought it, the only way to get in was through the front door, and they really wanted a second entrance. And that was something, when I mentioned that we salvaged all that brick and there is a little bit of the new facade that you can see from the street, that is the second entrance that you can now enter into a nice modern laundry room and mudroom. Because again, the previous house, they had a closet for their stackable washing machine. So now they've got a little bit more storage. They have a way to get in from their car, or if they're walking the dog, they can drop off muddy shoes or whatever. And so that you'll pass that laundry mudroom area, it became this like kind of thin piece that kind of connects the original house to the new addition. Yeah, it's kind of that transition area. Yeah,
I think, like, you look at a climate like Austin, and I live in a very similar climate here to Austin. Even though I'm coastal, we still get the humidity, we get the heat, we don't get quite the cold. And I always laugh at trends in building. We have the butler's pantry. Yeah, I don't have one friend with a butler, but the butler's pantry. And many years ago, the trend was to add the walk-in robe to a bedroom. And I think often people end up with the squeezed up little space of a walk-in robe. And then they've got more space in their bedroom, which they could be getting changed in. But anyway, and have beautiful cabinetry and stuff. But anyway, these kinds of things.
Yes,
and I think that the mudroom is, for the custom home, is like one of these new, it's not a new trend, it's an ongoing trend, but it's getting more space all the time.
Yes.
Basically, so that when owners come in and kids come in, there's school bag spaces and there's dog leash spaces. And where do you put your hats that you just want to walk straight out and chuck a hat on your head, rather than them being in your bedroom and having to reorganize constantly and travel so far? I see it as an often not requested addition, but when you suggest the addition, people, they go, oh God, that makes so much sense to us.
Yeah, because otherwise it all ends up on the kitchen table or the kitchen counter. And if we're trying to live a more peaceful and organized life, then it does help to have a place to collect those things. You have to have a place to collect 100%. Your mail. Yes.
and transition. It transitions you from your outside life to your indoor life. I think that makes a big difference as well.
Yeah, I do too.
The new primary suite. Tell me about that.
Yes.
And share a photo if you've got one there.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I'll get that pulled up. But yes, so as you go down you walk through the kitchen, and then there's a new hallway that we have set up to get you back to the primary suite, is the main addition at the back. And one of the things that was really important to our clients was that they have a lot of natural light. And so you can almost see it in this photo. We have windows on three walls of this suite. And one of the exciting things too was we kept the roof lines the same as for the new addition that we have. And it's actually quite a steep roof on the original part of the house. So we kept that same exact pitch for the new addition. And the only difference was, because this was the newer part of the house, we raised the ceilings to follow the roof line, whereas everywhere else in the original
was a truss. Yeah.
And they had the flat ceiling. So really, it's a kind of, to your point, it wasn't a huge addition. It's not a huge bedroom, but we were able to take advantage with a tall ceiling and lots of natural light. And then we also gave them a new bathroom that
beautiful.
That they were very excited about. So again, just with a little bit more space, a little bit more cabinetry, a little bit more storage. But
I think it looks stunning. Like it's really lovely. And I love that it's like you brought forward in its usability, but not lost. You should share a front photo of the house, but not lost everything that its charm is in doing that. You often see a facade, like Rainy Street. You see a facade of an old place, and then you walk in and it's a whole new bar. Like it's that kind of thing. This is that extension of itself as it moves through, which is lovely, really lovely.
Thank you, Adrian. We're so excited. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say there's something magical about being able to be in this kind of piece of history and knowing as an owner that you have, and certainly as a designer, that you have preserved this piece of history and taken it forward for modern times without it losing anything. Everything's gained in the journey. Everything's something that enhances the people's lives that live in it.
Oh, yes, it was such a joy for us because you never know who's going to come to you as a client and what they're looking for. And that's why we're so excited to share this house on the tour, because we haven't had a lot of opportunity to work on historic homes, and we really enjoyed it. And now we're working on several, actually. And so we're excited to share this house on the tour because it's, as I mentioned at the beginning, sustainability is something that I've always been really passionate about as an architect, and being able to take a home and make it so that it works and it's now more energy efficient and easier to live in for the clients. But still, we didn't have a whole lot of waste on this project. We were mostly adding on. We tried to salvage as much as we could in the parts that did need to come down. And so that was really exciting. And in fact, a fun story on this one, they really wanted to keep the original hardwood floors that were in the home. But of course, the hard part is we have this open passage now from the existing kitchen to the back. And so how are we going to handle that transition? And we were so lucky. There was a home down the street that was being completely demolished, that was built at the same time as this home, that had the same floors in it. And the homeowners were able to go talk to those neighbors and the demo team and say, hey, if you're going to throw away those floors, could we have them for our house? And so the floors in the new addition of the primary suite are all from they're the same age as their original floors.
And were they the same size? Were the boards the same size?
Yes, I think the two homes must have been built by the same builder.
The same developer, hey?
The same developer, I think. Isn't that wild? I know.
That's so cool.
So you can't tell that kitchen is the original end of the house because
I think you need to put some blue masking tape or something on the floor so we know where it starts and stops.
That's right.
Because, just even you could have had new boards made and maybe stained and all these different things. But then over time, they would have shrunk differently. All these different conditions takes to do that. And then even getting old boards off a floor. Yes. There's some work in that. Yes. There's some work in that, yeah.
There is, yeah. And fortunately, the homes were pier and beam, so I think that made it a little easier to salvage them. But still, yes, it was. And they were, don't get me wrong, they were sanded and re-stained and everything. Yeah. But you're right, in terms of the shrinking and the swelling and everything like that, it was very fortunate that they're the same, from the same age.
They probably came from the same mill, and they're probably built, as you say, like within a few months of each other, or maybe a year of each other, and they came from the same mill. Yeah, all those different things would be all lined up. How awesome. I love that story. It's got more neighborhood than the neighborhood. So it's got like
we're collecting other parts of the neighborhood to keep in this house.
If you live in I was going to say, if you live in Hartford Street, drop your stuff off.
No, I think I love our client. The homeowners on this project are amazing, and they were a huge driving factor in finding out about the reclaiming and everything. But I would say I think that they're done now. I think
they've got enough.
They want to take a little break on construction for a while.
That's a beautiful home. I'm really looking forward to the tour because of the fact that we go from really modern to homes like this, which are really period. And I love the sensibility of them. That I've got this great friend who says, if you talk about sustainability, he always says, the most sustainable home's the one that's already built.
Right.
And I go, yeah, but it's awful. And it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's still the most sustainable. So start where
Yeah.
you mean to go on from. And he doesn't say you've got to renovate everything for that reason, but just
Right.
you should consider it as your first point of call. And
Exactly.
yeah, so I love that kind of piece of that. And then they're wanting, their clients wanting to maintain this home, the
Yes.
character, all those things. I imagine we had that piece at the start about feeling heard. I imagine
Yeah.
they really feel considered in every moment of that home because it's such a gentle journey, but it just realigns it. It's, yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Love it lots.
I hope so. They seem quite happy.
Happy
They
enough to let
seem
you
quite
show it
happy.
off as well.
That's right. Yes, exactly. It is a big ask of them to let us share it on the tour, and they were so gracious to
Yeah.
allow us to share their home. So yeah, no, it was a joy to work on this project. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed it, and because yeah, we were saying we build new construction and we
Yeah.
do remodels, and so there's all, but it's lovely when there is a home that's worth you can save
So
and it's worth saving, and that is definitely the best way to go.
adds real texture to your portfolio of what you do and how you meet different people's needs. And again, that thing of coming back to that being heard and taking people where they are and then being able to work with them to build their dreams, to build on that, to create it. I think it's great. It's awesome. I'm really looking forward to
Thanks,
seeing it.
Adrian.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
sharing it. It
Yes,
was
well, thank you
fabulous.
for having me on. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, me too. And I look forward to seeing you then.
Yes. Okay.
Take
Thank you
care.
so much.
Cheers. In the special edition that I'm creating for the Austin Homes Tour, which is in October of 2024, I have Casey Woods joining me. Now, Casey is the photographer who has photographed all the houses that the tour is going to do an expose on. Casey, this next house that we're going to talk about is Hartford Residence, and even that name carries a bit of weight of tradition. Hartford, the home Restructure studio did it, and they've got a beautiful reputation for doing great houses. And Carina Coel, she's the architect on here. Tell me about this home and its setting and the fact that it is traditional architecture as opposed to, say, modern contemporary architecture. I think there's a lot of heart in a home like this, and I'm being smart here with my Hartford home. But there is a lot of, with traditional architecture or that feeling of architecture, there's a lot of reference that we go through life with from even in movies. We watch movies and they anchor us to good times and things like that. And these kind of homes that look like this kind of fit within a lot of that genre.
Yes.
Take me on the journey.
So this home is in an older neighborhood of Austin, that's lovely. And the homeowners, the architect will speak more to this, but just to briefly set it up, they had lived in the house and wanted to do a remodel addition, but really wanted to hold the character of the house. And the architects worked very hard for that. You wouldn't even know. It just looks like it's in wonderful condition, to the point of reusing brick and finding brick that would match the other brick for the front facade and for the addition, and held on to a lot of the traditional aspects. I'll share just one photo of the interior. But there are these beautiful archways.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
That are what the homes of this era, which again they can speak to that, would be, but they, and holding on to them and working with holding on to the bones of the house, but also modernizing it to the point that it was really useful and what the homeowners wanted and what would work well for them. And I just feel like they did a really great job balancing all of that.
So homes like this tend to have, because of their pedigree tend, and the style of house, tend to have a lot less, say, window space. Like there's not a lack of windows, but there is this thing of the windows were smaller in general, and the facades were, when I say bigger, because there was more facade. And then they often tend to be very set rooms. I always think like if you're in an English home, it's usually very set rooms. You have a dining room, and then you go through a door really into another room, and we now live in a much more open space where homes are nowadays have been opened up. And I know that's what happened here, is creating flow and circulation in the home and allowing to travel from room to room. As a photographer, how was that?
It was lovely, but it was also really nice. There is so much openness, which I do love, and I'm not opposed, but sometimes those rooms that are all just one big room are almost, you can lose a focal point. And so this home felt very intimate. It was really nice the way the spaces were still delineated but open. And as you're saying, the way that the light came through was it's just lovely. And
in this photo that you've shared, so if you're listening, please go to our YouTube channel and you'll be able to see the photo so Talk Design on YouTube, you'll be able to see this as well, where we've got an archway on an archway. And these are very traditional archways. Archways have made a huge comeback in the last sort of 5-7 years into architecture. And they tend to be a very kind of Mediterranean archway with a very straight sides, beautifully, perfectly curved top, like a half circle. In this case, it's a spread oval topped archway, which is, again, of the style of this home and of its pedigree. And I think it's really amazing. And then watching the light flow from room to room, so you get shadow, or the light softens as it comes, and it comes from different angles. Yeah. And I love that fact that you pointed out, and often in modern architecture, there is so much that you can take in that you lose a focal point. There's multiple, it could be the view, it could be a long view in the room, but there's a lot of rooms that sort of semi-connected where this feels really intimate. Tell me, for in its setting, because it's in a beautiful wooded setting, more trees around it, and it's got this, I want to say, traditional vernacular in the architecture. Tell me about that, because most of the houses you go to are going to be modern homes, because as an architectural photographer, you're photographing new homes.
Yes.
Tell me about that with this one.
It was challenging in spaces, but it was also something that was really lovely to embrace, just to walk through, think about, I go into these homes and I just imagine living there, and I imagine how you see it. I like incorporating, showing the transition of spaces and how things flow. Beyond this kitchen, there's a new kind of master suite, which is beautiful and maybe my favorite space in this house, but the master bedroom and bath area, and then they've incorporated the back porch. And so taking this, I don't even know what era the house was from, but taking it and updating it, holding on to the bones, but updating it to make it livable, and what the homeowners wanted, I think was great. And there were some of the smaller spaces that were more challenging to photograph, but I really love some hallway shots and just seeing how the spaces flow from one to the other.
And I heard you say then that main bed suite would probably be one of your favorite spaces in the house. Why was that?
It has really beautiful light. It has a lovely vaulted ceiling. It felt open, but it also felt very, very private, very serene.
Still kept its intimacy and privacy.
Yeah, it really did.
Nice. So on the tour, when you come to this home, the Hartford Residence, it would be a place, just go and take a pause in that main bed suite and grab hold of the feelings that Casey's just talked about, that privacy, that intimacy, and then also being in that vaulted ceiling space. It's really special. Did you meet the owners?
I didn't really. No, I briefly met
In
one of the
passing.
owners, but it was in passing. Yeah. So I didn't get to know them, but I did speak with Carina talking about and they had lived in the house before they made changes to it. I don't know for how long, but they had lived there. And I like that too, get to know a space and then decide what you want from it.
Yeah, I think it's important to know what to keep and know what to change.
Yeah.
Especially in a remodel, because houses are about feeling, and
Yeah.
that's what makes them into homes. And then there's the things that you get a little bit of love for, and then you go, I don't want to lose that feeling when we change this. And then there's other parts that go, I need to lose that feeling because this isn't working for me.
Yes.
It's a journey both ways.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
A designer is only as good as the projects you can win, and life is far too short to be consistently winning mediocre projects. So if you want to get yourself out of the rat race and start winning high-value projects for high-value clients, that's people who appreciate great design, go to my website, archmarketing.org, and download some of the free tools and resources and start winning decent, high-value projects consistently. That's archmarketing.org, and help yourself to whatever you can find.